Using more electricity than the Vegas Strip and a Stones concert rolled into one, E3 is 4 days of semi-controlled chaos where thousands of new video games are unveiled, hot new consoles make their debut, and game companies will do anything to get your attention. And I do mean anything. This year's E3 will take us into the future of gaming with Sony's new PlayStation 3 with its eye-popping graphics, Nintendo's Wii, which promises to change the way you play video games, and a first look at the next killer games for the Xbox 360.
Tell me about it.
The future of gaming is here, and we'll get you in.
Attack of the Show's E306 preview special presented by Scion and Mountain Dew. I'm Kevin Pereira, and joining me on their brand new set, which looks marvelous, by the way,
thank you.
the brutally honest host of X-Play, Adam Sessler, and Morgan Webb.
Thanks, Kevin. Now, the Electronic Entertainment Expo, also known as E3, is the biggest video game event in the world, and today kicks off an entire week of video game madness.
What we are talking about here is a giant convention center full of new games, new consoles, and a volcano of hype.
Now, unfortunately, it's also closed to the public, and that's why G4 will be bringing you live E306 coverage all week long.
Yeah, that's right. We're your all-access pass to E3 with thousands of new games, hands-on demos, exclusive trailers, and all the big news right from the expo floor.
Yep, and on this show, we'll be giving you an insider's look at E3 and a sneak peek at what you'll be seeing all this week at the expo.
Okay, I know some of you out there are hardcore gamers who have followed E3 religiously year after year.
Sure. Some of you out there, however, have no idea what we're talking about. So what the hell is E3 and why should you even care? Well, here's how a little expo grew to be the biggest annual event in video game history.
It's an orgy of games, lights, booth babes, celebrities, and rabid fans willing to wait in 5-hour lines just to get a glimpse at new titles like Zelda or Metal Gear Solid 4.
E3, I think, is clearly the Super Bowl, the Olympics, the World Cup, all rolled into one for the video game industry.
Started in 1995 as a trade show for the video game industry, E3 is a celebration of gaming where industry insiders show off new products and consoles, and journalists hope to discover the next blockbuster title that will revolutionize the industry the way Mario 64, Halo, or Grand Theft Auto 3 did. It's where the biggest successes and the biggest failures make their debut. And if you're one of the 145 million people out there who play computer or video games, it's the first look you'll get at the new titles that will change the way you play. And while today's E3 has expanded to fill all three halls of the massive LA Convention Center, it had its humble origins in Sin City.
Greetings and welcome to the 1986 Winter Consumer Electronics Show.
Historically, it had been part of the Consumer Electronics Show, the huge show held in Las Vegas every January. And the game industry had become an increasingly large part of the show, but treated very much as a stepchild, if you will, not as the showcase, the centerpiece, even though they were an increasingly large part of it.
And then along came a little game called Tomb Raider.
Tomb Raider was very much a hidden treasure. We went to at the time it was called the CES show, and we had a full array of games, and one of them happened to be Tomb Raider with this character, Lara Croft, and the buzz was amazing.
Lara Croft and her remarkable pixels helped generate immense interest throughout the industry and sparked an idea. Why couldn't there be a games-only trade show? And thus, E3 was born. When the first Electronic Entertainment Expo launched in 1995, it turned out to be the most successful opening of a new trade show in U.S. history, as 40,000 people packed the Los Angeles Convention Center.
I walked in there and it was just like your eardrums started to hurt. You know, it was just like totally, ah!
By 1999, attendance had risen to 60,000 people, and the stakes couldn't be higher. Companies now spent hundreds of thousands of dollars pouring money into booths that served as giant hype machines.
It's all about the money now, and that's why to be the game of the show at E3 is a big, big deal these days.
In the past, E3 has boasted a lot of big, big deals by unveiling huge games like Halo, Mario 64, Metal Gear Solid 2, and Resident Evil 4. And the new titles aren't the only surprises. E3 is best known for debuting new hardware that pushes the gaming envelope. Last year at E3, we got our first look at the Xbox 360, the PlayStation 3, and, shrouded in mystery, the Nintendo Wii. So which new consoles will revolutionize gaming, and which big titles will blow us away? or leave us disappointed. That's what over 70,000 people will find out this year at E3 '06.
And we're going to get a much closer look at the PS3 and the console formerly known as the Nintendo Revolution later in the show.
Plus, more next-gen games for the Xbox 360, like Sega's Chrome Hounds. We're going to be showing you an exclusive new trailer for it at the end of the show.
Now listen, I know you have ADD and all, but now is not the time to change the channel, Adam. Adam, over here. We've got more game coverage in just a second.
Coming up after the break, we check out the big three, Sony, Nintendo, and Microsoft. Who's on top, and who's got a big surprise planned for tomorrow? And later, a look at the biggest games of E3 '06.
Brought to you by Scion. Customize one and make it as unique as you are. Scion, what moves you?
Be first to check out PS3, Nintendo Wii, the hottest new Xbox games, E3 '06 live, only on G4.
Welcome back to the E3 '06 preview special.
E3 is the biggest video game event of the year, and E3 '06 promises to set the industry on fire.
Now, why? Well, how about 3 next-gen consoles and the debut of new games that will be faster, sleeker, and more addictive than anything you've played before?
Now, for game and hardware developers, E3 is their chance to make a bold first impression on journalists from around the world.
So, what huge events happened at last year's E3, and how are they going to affect what we see at this week's Expo? Well, here's our look at what went down in 2005 and what's happened since. E3 '06 starts tomorrow, and the major players are all scrambling to blow journalists
360 is going to push gaming back into the mainstream.
And competitors away.
I'm about kicking ass. I'm about taking names.
With new hardware and new games that will shake up the industry. In case you missed it, the biggest story of last year's E3 was the announcement of 3 next-gen consoles.
It's here, and it's on.
In other words, an evolution in gaming. For years, the big 3, Sony, Microsoft, and Nintendo, have been trying to one-up each other with hardware and titles that will conquer a multi-billion-dollar gaming market.
All in all, I call this a pretty picture.
At E3 '05, Microsoft unveiled the Xbox 360. Sony debuted the PS3, and Nintendo, limping after less than stellar sales of the GameCube, gave fans a mere glimpse of the Wii.
You will say, wow.
So who has fulfilled the tantalizing promises made last year? Well, since E3 '05, only the Xbox 360 is launched.
Today's the day.
And it sold out all over the U.S. by having a launch lineup broad enough to appeal to everyone from fight aficionados to fantasy fans. And though Microsoft is the most recent combatant in the console wars, it's already making a massive dent in a market that was traditionally dominated by Sony and Nintendo. The only downside? Not enough supply for consumers eager to get their hands on the first legit next-gen console. In fact, after Microsoft's massive Midnight 360 launch event last November, the consoles were so hot that they were going up for triple the price on eBay. Since the launch lineup, Microsoft has released a handful of new games for the 360, including Fight Night, Oblivion, and Battlefield 2. But what's still missing? A 100% killer app, like Halo was for the original Xbox, a game that will make the 360 a must-have. Will Gears of War be that game? The fans sure hope so. As for Sony, the PS2 was the dominant machine of the last console cycle, and everyone is dying to get their hands on the PS3. It just won't happen anytime soon. They promised a spring '06 release for the PS3. Sony just announced that the launch has been pushed back to fall. And while that sucks for gamers, it also means that this year's E3 will be the best look anyone has had at what could be a gaming juggernaut. I mean, who wouldn't want to play this? While the Killzone trailer blew people away at E3 '05, the debate raged on. Will the PS3 really look this good? Well, that's one of the reasons we're so damn excited for E3 '06, because this year, we're going to find out. And to whip the fanboys up into even more of a frenzy, Konami released the trailer for a huge new PS3 game at the Tokyo Game Show. The title? Metal Gear Solid 4.
Just Snake.
Nice. On the other hand, we still have yet to see a single real game for the Nintendo Wii. We know that it's the smallest console ever made, and you'll be able to download classic Nintendo games on it. And the motion-sensitive controller will be shaped a little like a remote. But we still haven't seen anything that we can play on it. Still, the now stooped gaming giant has had a bit of good news since E305. While its GameCube continues to languish, the Nintendo DS has blown up, thanks to Wi-Fi.
This is the year that Nintendo players begin connecting with each other in a new way.
Which means Nintendo finally figured out that people really do want to play with each other. And despite major delays, fans are still clamoring for the much-delayed Zelda game. We saw you at E304 and at E305, and we'll see you again at E306. And you know what? People are so excited about this one, they just don't care if it's late. But if we see it again at E307, someone is probably gonna get stabbed.
We'll find out more about Zelda and what Nintendo has planned for the future later in this show.
And we'll see the first games for the new Nintendo Wii tomorrow at Nintendo's media event. Will that new controller be different enough to get Nintendo back in the console race?
Well, you'll know as soon as we do, because we'll be bringing you breaking news, interviews, exclusive game demos, and trailers live from E3, and that's starting tomorrow at 6 p.m. Kevin.
Thanks, buddy. Move and you'll regret it. We've got next-gen games coming right up. Up next, the biggest new titles from Sony, plus a look at the PlayStation 3, and later, what's new on the Xbox 360.
Sign a Mountain Dew only on G4.
Welcome back to the E306 preview special. Now that was the trailer from Metal Gear Solid 4, one of the most anticipated games for Sony's PlayStation 3.
You know, ever since the first PS3 trailers were unveiled, people have been asking one very simple question. Will the games really look that good?
Well, you know, we're gonna find out tomorrow, but right now, here's a look at how Sony conquered video games and what it has planned for the future. It's the video game console that everyone has been waiting for, Sony's PS3. So how much will it cost? When do we get to buy one? What games will be playable on it? And how did Sony become top dog in the gaming business in the first place? It's a story that starts over a decade ago. Sony first muscled its way into the video game market in 1995 with the launch of the first PlayStation. Thanks to massive hits like Gran Turismo, Tony Hawk's Pro Skater, Tomb Raider, Resident Evil, and Metal Gear Solid, the PlayStation quickly became the console of choice for the general public. After lasting over 11 years, thanks to a redesign dubbed the PS1 in 2000, the PlayStation has enjoyed one of the longest production runs in the video game industry, with over 102.5 million PlayStations sold. Then, in October of 2000, Sony released the PS2, a faster, sleeker gaming machine that decimated its only direct competition, the Sega Dreamcast, and got a year's head start on the GameCube and original Xbox. But what really put the PS2 over the top were a series of best-selling games that made the PS2 the console of choice for casual video game fans. Games like Madden, Devil May Cry, Gran Turismo 3, God of War, Kingdom Hearts, and Final Fantasy X and X-2, which were popular for some reason. Not sure what that was.
These pricks have failed me miserably.
But what truly helped solidify the PS2's lead over the Xbox and GameCube was the best-selling game, Grand Theft Auto 3, and its follow-ups, GTA Vice City and San Andreas. All three games made headlines for their violent and sexual content, thus raking in a ton of free publicity for the games and the PS2.
They got their nose in everything.
And with over 100 million units shipped since its release, the PS2 has become the fastest-selling game console in history. Not content with dominating the console market, Sony launched the PSP in 2005 to take on Nintendo in the one area Nintendo has always owned, handhelds. And while the PSP sells briskly thanks to games like GTA and Liberty City Stories, it remains to be seen if it can steal market share from the DS. Now in 2006, Sony is set to release the PS3, a new console that comes with a high-def Blu-ray DVD player and promises to blow the doors off the gaming industry. So who will be operating Sony's unstoppable hype machine at E3?
This is PlayStation 3.
First up, Ken Kutaragi, the president and CEO of Sony Computer Entertainment. Kutaragi is fondly known as father of the PlayStation. He also likes to talk smack about the competition. He called the Xbox 360 just an Xbox 1.5. Next up, Phil Harrison, Sony's president of Worldwide Studios.
Well, that's correct.
At last, Kaz Hirai, president of Sony Computer Entertainment. He's the genius who integrated PlayStation ads into sporting events, thus ensuring that when people play Madden in their dorm rooms, they're probably playing it on the PS2.
Touchdown, Jets.
So what will they be bringing to E306? How about new details on the PS3? Oh, like online play or the price? Knowing the price would be good. And revealing the launch titles that will be burning up the PS3, like these. Will the PS3 and Sony live up to the hype? Tomorrow, we're gonna find out. That's right, tomorrow we've got answers for you about the future of Sony and the PlayStation 3.
In fact, you know what? You can just join us all week long for G4's daily live E3 coverage from 6 p.m. to 9 p.m. That's 3 whole hours of non-stop video game madness. Adam?
You still haven't seen what Nintendo and Microsoft have planned, and there's more on that after the break.
Coming up, the newest titles for the Xbox 360. And later, we explore Zelda and the mysteries surrounding the Nintendo Wii.
On Circle of Trust.
To Attack of the Show's E306 preview special. Now, you just saw the trailer for Gears of War. It's got to be one of the hottest new games for the Xbox 360.
You know, and speaking of Microsoft, a lot of people wonder if getting the 360 out a year before the competition was the smartest or dumbest move Bill Gates' baby ever made.
Well, that year head start sure worked for the PlayStation 2. What's the story with Microsoft and the Xbox 360? Take a look. For Microsoft, last year was all about the hardware, but this year, it's all about the games. As the only next-gen console currently on the market, the Xbox 360 has already hooked early fans with its broad launch lineup. This year, however, Microsoft is still looking for a killer app. That one golden game that's so good, people buy the 360 just to play it. And at E306, we're hoping to see the debut of that breakthrough title for the first major player in the next generation. Here's how Microsoft got into gaming and what we can expect from the 360 this year. In 2001, Bill Gates' giant company marched into the console wars with the biggest damn gaming platform most people had ever seen. Launched in Times Square, the Xbox was an entirely new gaming system with one very big advantage. It had all of Microsoft's considerable muscle behind it. Thanks to initial launch games like Amped, NFL Fever 2002, and Dead or Alive 3, the Xbox had a strong start, even when it was up against the GameCube and PS2. But what really put it on the map was a game called Halo. The addictive first-person shooter sold more than 5 million copies, and more importantly, it moved consoles. Exclusive titles like Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic, Ninja Gaiden, and Project Gotham Racing helped Microsoft ship over 22 million Xbox consoles to retailers worldwide. And Halo 2 became the best-selling Xbox title ever, with more than 7 million copies sold. And though the Xbox still lagged behind the PS2's robust sales, Microsoft was learning and preparing its own next-gen assault on Sony. By launching the Xbox 360 in November 2005 at a massive event in the Mojave Desert, the 360 got a critical jump on the other guys. Coming out almost a year before the PS3 and Nintendo Revolution meant that Microsoft got plenty of extra time to get consoles out to hardcore fans and develop more games. But how will they snag the rest of the casual gamers? Why, with the fiery new next-gen game lineup. And the biggest gun in Microsoft's arsenal, the hotly anticipated new title, Gears of War. So, who'll be fanning the flames of Xbox 360 insanity? First up, Jay Allard. He's the corporate VP and chief XNA architect at Microsoft, which means he oversees the design and engineering of the Xbox and gets to dress like a hipster. Up next, Peter Moore. He's head of Microsoft's Interactive Entertainment Business Division.
Welcome to the world of Oblivion.
And finally, fan favorite Cliffy B. Cliff Bleszinski doesn't work for Microsoft, but he's responsible for designing the highest profile game announced so far for the 360, Gears of War. We also own many embarrassing photos of him from past expos.
Wacky hilarity ensues.
But Microsoft won't be able to work the crowd into a frenzy without strong titles to back up the new Xbox. Here are just some of the games for the Xbox 360 set to debut at E306. Of course, the biggest question is whether we'll see anything for Halo 3 at Microsoft's press conference. The good news? You won't have to wait long. We'll find out tomorrow. Yes, you heard me correctly. Tomorrow, we're broadcasting live from E3, and we'll have the lowdown of Microsoft's big media event, plus breaking news about Sony and Nintendo.
And don't forget, later this week we have an exclusive live demo of Gears of War. Now that's the game with the big guns and incredibly scary monsters who also have big guns.
You can catch that and all our in-depth E3 coverage every day on G4 at 6 p.m.
Yeah, if you reach for that remote, though, you're going to pull back the stump. I mean it. I'm serious. We've got more E306 right after the break.
Heavy.
I'll just cut it.
How?
When we come back, the Nintendo Wii, more big games, and later, the top 10 things we're dying to see at E306.
Technology at 100-32.
Any event of the year with exclusive live daily coverage. It's E306 Live tomorrow at 6 p.m. only on G4.
Welcome back to the E306 preview special. Now, the footage that you just saw was from Nintendo's new GameCube title, The Legend of Zelda: Twilight Princess.
Now, still to come, our countdown of the top 10 things we are dying to see at E3. Plus, your first look at the brand new trailer for Chrome Hounds for the Xbox 360. But right now, what the heck is up with the Nintendo next-gen console?
You know, industry insiders first heard about it back when it was codenamed the Revolution. Now, we all know its real name is the Wii. However, everything else remains a mystery.
So far, Nintendo has only hinted at what its next-gen console would be capable of. At E306, we will finally separate fact from fiction and find out if the Nintendo Wii will truly be revolutionary. How do the people that gave us Mario, Link, and Donkey Kong, and whose name was once synonymous with gaming, wind up lagging so far behind Sony and Microsoft in the console wars? How does it still soar in the handheld market? And will the Wii usher in a new era of Nintendo dominance? Here are a couple answers and a few burning questions. In 1985, Nintendo delivered the equivalent of an adrenaline-filled hypodermic to the sagging video game industry's heart with the debut of the Nintendo Entertainment System. With addictive hit games like Super Mario Bros., Metroid, and Legend of Zelda, the NES sold more than 49 million units worldwide. And for the next 15 years, Nintendo was the one word in the gaming industry. And when Nintendo released the Super NES in 1991 to compete against the Sega Genesis, games like Zelda: A Link to the Past and Donkey Kong Country became instant classics. But with hugely popular and often kid-friendly games, like the infamous censored version of Mortal Kombat, Nintendo began to acquire a reputation that it was just for kids. When the N64 was released in 1995, Nintendo tried hard to lose that image and hoped that games like the now classic shooter GoldenEye 64 would help them do just that. But while 32 million N64 units sold worldwide, the most successful titles still featured cuddly characters like Link and Mario. And up against Sony's brand new PlayStation, the N64 didn't do so well. In 2001, Nintendo released the GameCube in the US, and despite a couple of signature adult titles like Resident Evil 0 and Eternal Darkness, it still had plenty of family-friendly games like Luigi's Mansion, The Legend of Zelda: The Wind Waker, and Mario Sunshine. But the Cube was still missing something the Xbox and the PlayStation 2 both already had: DVD players and online capabilities. But while Nintendo's consoles have been taking hits, its handhelds like the Game Boy Advance, and the DS have been wildly successful. And with the DS Lite already released and completely sold out in Japan, it looks like Nintendo's handheld winning streak isn't ending anytime soon.
I have a question for you.
But what about the new Wii? Now, we don't know much about it except that its controller is unlike anything we've ever seen before, and you can download classic games right to it. What about the price?
1080, 360, 8.2.
No idea. Games?
I'm about making games.
Still a mystery. We only know that Nintendo claims it will change the way we play. So who'll be talking up the Wii at this year's E3? Well, here's a look at the major players. First up, Shigeru Miyamoto, the creator of game franchises like Mario, Donkey Kong, Zelda, and Pikmin. This year, he brings us a new Zelda game.
My name is Iwata.
Next, Satoru Iwata, the current president of Nintendo. He's one of the only people on Earth who's been able to get his hands all over the Wii. And last, but oh so very far from least, the Reginator.
I know what some of you are thinking.
Yes, Reginald Reggie Fils-Aimé is the Executive VP of Sales and Marketing for Nintendo of America, and we'd love to hear him talk trash.
The PSP hasn't arrived in Europe yet. You know what? That's Sony's issue, not my problem.
The fans love him so much, they've dubbed him the Reginator and even Flash animated him. Damn! So will the Wii and its intriguing new controller change the way we play games? And will the long-awaited Legend of Zelda: The Twilight Princess actually come out in 2006? We'll find out tomorrow. Yeah, that's right. Nintendo will reveal everything about the new Wii console and its crazy controller tomorrow at its giant media event.
And we'll have live coverage of all the major announcements at 6 p.m.
You've seen some of the big titles coming out from Nintendo, Microsoft, and Sony, but what are all the other game makers bringing to the Expo?
Here's a look at some of the other high-profile games we will see this week at E3. So we've seen what Sony, Nintendo, and Microsoft are bringing to E3, but what about everybody else? Here are some of the other games that should be playable for the first time at E3 06. First-person shooter fans won't be hurting this year. Trigger-happy players are already amped about Midway's Unreal Tournament 2007. But that's only the beginning. We'll also see double-barrel games like Prey from 2K Games and D3's gorgeous Dark Sector. PC fans won't be hurting either, while Valve makes FPS fans happy with Half-Life 2 Episode 1. And EA's Battlefield 2142 is making everyone's mousing hand twitch with anticipation. Do you like role-playing games? Are you wearing a tunic right now? Then you'll be stoked for Turbine's The Lord of the Rings Online Shadows of Angmar. The WoW machine keeps on rolling in Blizzard's World of Warcraft Burning Crusade. And Namco gives us Hellgate London, which is set, where else, in a post-apocalyptic future. As always, the action fans have plenty to feast on. Ubisoft will bring us top-notch stealth in Splinter Cell Double Agent. Grand Theft Auto creator Rockstar will court controversy with Bully. Capcom gives us 2 times the zombie goodness with Resident Evil 5 and Dead Rising. Wow, that looks violent. They also serve up Lost Planet and the long-awaited calligraphy game, Okami. Yes, I said calligraphy. Rounding out the action games are Namco's Frame City Killers, Midway's Stranglehold, 2K Games' comic book-inspired The Darkness, and the return of everyone's favorite bald guy in Eidos's Hitman Blood Money. You'll see all these and more right here starting tomorrow. And those are only a few of the new games we'll see at E3.
There will also be dozens of other major announcements about new titles all week long.
And you can find up-to-the-minute show news and much, much more at E3Insider.com. The site offers you an unprecedented look behind the scenes of E3 with a feature called Virtual E3. It has 70 panoramic tours of the show floor, so even though you can't get into the expo, you're going to feel like you're there.
There's also an E3 Insider Sweepstakes, where you can win a Fender Stratocaster guitar. I have a feeling the Guitar Hero fans might be, I don't know, into that.
And best of all, E3Insider.com has its own internet video channel called E3 TV. It allows users to download DVD quality videos of the exhibit tours, big media events, and E3 news updates.
That's right. Again, all of that is at E3Insider.com, but don't let the internet talk send you surfing. No, sit right there. We've got our list of E3's most anticipated games up next.
Right now.
Up next, the top 10 things we're dying to see at E306, and later, burning questions about the next-gen consoles.
Hair lacking some. Inside E306 is G4. Premiering live demos of Spore, Gears of War, Scarface, exclusive interviews with John Carmack, Peter Molyneux, Will Wright, Peter Moore, up-to-the-minute news on the hottest titles like Zelda Twilight Princess, Splinter Cell, Metal Gear Solid 4. Be there as Kevin, Adam, Morgan, and Olivia get their hands on the PS3 and Nintendo's Wii. E306 Live, tomorrow at 6 p.m. Presented by Sign and Mountain Dew, only on G4.
Welcome back to the E306 preview special.
Now, all episode long, we've been showing you the sights, the sounds, the smells of E3, the Electronic Entertainment Expo.
It's the biggest video game event in the world, and you've seen what Nintendo, Microsoft, and Sony are bringing to it in 06.
But now it's time to find out what we're most excited to see this year, and to do that, we go to my Attack of the Show co-host, Miss Olivia Munn.
Hey guys, I'm here on what will be the new set of the new Attack of the Show. But we can't show you anything yet. However, what we can do is count down our list of the top 10 things we are dying to see at E306. Number 10, God of War 2. Last year's M-rated God of War was a massive hit thanks to its gorgeous graphics, horrible violence, and that infamous threesome minigame. Now, Kratos is back and kicking ass with new moves in this sinful sequel. PS2 fans can't wait to sink their blades into it. Number 9, Final Fantasy 12 and 13. Some people really love Final Fantasy.
I'm dressed as Lulu from Final Fantasy X.
They love it way too much. Right now, Final Fantasy 12 is out in Japan, but we won't see it here until October. Plus, it's safe to assume that we'll hear something about Final Fantasy 13 for the PS3, so fantasy fans can see plenty of dudes who look like ladies for generations to come. Number 8, Guitar Hero 2. Oh, I know what you're thinking. Why is Guitar Hero 2 on this list? Well, maybe because the first Guitar Hero is a gigantic hit and a very addictive party game. The sequel has 55 new songs, a multiplayer co-op mode where you can play lead and bass guitar with a friend, and a new hair metal genre. Grab the Aquanet and prepare to rock out. Number 7, new Zelda titles for the GameCube and DS. Yep, Link is going portable, and E306 is your first chance to see him. As for Legend of Zelda Twilight Princess on the GameCube, it would be way higher up on the list if we hadn't already seen it at the last 2 expos. Number 6, Gears of War. Microsoft is praying that this game will move 360 consoles the same way Halo moved the Xbox. And from what we've seen so far, we're dying to let it scare the crap out of us. Number 5, Spore. Will Wright, the man behind SimCity and The Sims, gives us a kick-ass PC game. You'll get to create your own species and let it take over the universe. Number 4, Metal Gear Solid 4. The 4th Metal Gear title is also the 4th most exciting thing at this year's E3. Solid Snake is back, and if the actual game looks anywhere as good as this trailer, we're sold. The only question left? why does Snake look so old?
Snake.
Number 3, Halo 3.
Master Chief, you mind telling me what you're doing on that ship?
The end of Halo 2 left us hanging, and now everyone wants to know what happened to Master Chief. Will we see anything about Halo 3 for the Xbox 360 at Microsoft's press conference? Oh, we better. And we'll find out first thing tomorrow. Number 2, the Wii. Nintendo new console has the fanboys wetting themselves with anticipation. But aside from that crazy controller, we know almost nothing about it. This E3, Nintendo promises to reveal the first games for the Wii and a big, big secret about its new console. We can't wait. And the number one thing we're dying to see at E3 06 is the PlayStation 3. We love a good console war, and Sony's bringing the battle to E3. Supposedly, the PS3 will be the most powerful gaming machine ever made. But can the in-game graphics possibly look this incredible? Oh, we hope so. I'm Olivia Munn, and those are the top 10 things we're dying to see at E3. In the meantime, we're gearing up to bring you an all-new Attack of the Show. A brand new set, lots of new faces, and that same Attack of the Show attitude. It starts on May 15th. Until then, I'll see you at E3.
Thanks, Olivia.
Show's relaunching, huh?
Yeah, it is. Really excited. Got a new set, too.
Yeah, this is our new set.
I know, I like
it. You got the globes and everything?
It's nice. I like the little gloves. I really like this big guy, though.
It's cool, huh?
It's awesome. Can I rub it?
Coming up, burning questions about the next-gen consoles and the games we'll be playing on them.
Well, you're part duck, part beaver. Ringtone from Q.
Be first to check out PS3, Nintendo Wii, the hottest new Xbox games, E3 06 live, only on G4.
Hey, it's Attack of the Show's E3 06 preview special. We're back, and you know what? We've got some questions.
We do, and after the last hour, we've shown you some of the games and consoles that will be shaking up the 2006 Electronic Entertainment Expo. But right now, it's all about us.
Finally. Yeah. Kevin, Morgan, and I have been working in the video game industry for years. And after hearing all the next-gen hype, we have some burning questions of our own. Morgan, you go first.
My itching, burning question.
No matter how tight your jeans, it'll still fit in your pocket.
Will the Nintendo Wii controller revolutionize the gaming industry?
Okay, it's game time.
Right now, the standard controller for all the consoles has a steep learning curve as a new user tries to figure out how to press 4 shoulder buttons, all the face buttons, and God forbid how to click the analog sticks. This system works well for the experienced user, but makes it hard for the newbie. If the Wii controller is really as intuitive as we've been promised, gaming will be open to a whole new audience, like the moms and dads who get frustrated when they fumble with the controller and get whooped by their 11-year-old.
Who's your daddy?
It's in the interest of the gaming industry to open the field of potential customers to as wide an audience as possible, and this could be exactly what does it. If the controller works well, you better believe Sony and Microsoft will bang out motion tracking peripherals of their own, and make Tetris and Bejeweled available for download. For $14.99, of course. Now who knows, maybe the Wii will be a console that appeals to everyone, like women and old people, not just young guys playing Grand Theft Auto.
You know, we've also heard rumors that the Wii will be cheaper than the 360 and the PlayStation 3.
And that brings us to my burning question. This is the simple yet very big question that's on my mind and everyone else's. How much is the PS3 going to cost?
PlayStation 3 is a powerful machine.
With industry analysts putting just the 2 prime components, the cell processor and the Blu-ray drive collectively at $900, it's tough to figure out how much of a loss Sony is ready to take on the PlayStation 3.
What's so funny?
Then again, with rumors of a $700 console in the air, it's hard to imagine how willing Sony is to alienate their consumer base.
Make them suffer.
A consumer base that tends to skew younger and less replete with disposable income than Xbox owners. Coupling that with the possibility that getting hands-on with the console will be limited, if not impossible, I have to wonder what type of messaging they have to convince people to hold back the cash and wait until the end of the year with the solid lineup coming out of Microsoft's booth for year-end.
Any product carrying the PlayStation name has a lot to live up to.
Sony has always regarded themselves untouchable, and that might be their Achilles heel. Just as they may insulate the console from the consumer at the show, they may have insulated themselves from realities in the industry.
Secure all stations.
Then again, they said the PS1 wouldn't work. Regardless, it better be more clear in just a few hours.
I just don't know how a $700 console could find mainstream success. Will Sony sell the PlayStation 3 for roughly the same price as the 360? I'm looking forward to getting an answer.
And if the PS3 is competitively priced with the 360, the console war between the two companies may come down to splashy graphics.
True. You know, last year we saw lots of slick-looking visuals from Sony, but some of us were wondering if the PlayStation 3's games will really look as good as promised. So my burning question, well, it's more of a rant. E3 is simply the most exciting time to be a video game enthusiast. It's the one magical week of the year where gamers are allowed to peer into the future, to peek behind the developmental curtains and taste test the flavors that will define gaming for the year to come. Yet at last year's E3, I felt suffocated by the big three. Oh, they tried so hard to pull the wool over our eyes that we ended up choking on a mouthful of fleece. Well, enough! E3 2006 is here, and we're finally getting the chance to put your hardware through its paces. This year, we'll get our hands on the PlayStation 3, the Nintendo Wii, and the second generation of 360 titles that should be pushing the machine to deliver the kind of visuals even Pixar has soggy dreams about. So developers, be honest. At last year's E3, all you could get away with pretty looping reels of pre-rendered smoke and mirrors designed to impress the uninformed masses, but no more. Why? Because this year, when you come up on stage, we won't be distracted by the flickering images on the screen. No, you'll be held accountable. And then after that, we'll totally zone out on the shiny explosions and awesome lighting, because we're all suckers for really great eye candy. Thanks, guys. You know, we've all seen the amazing footage from the PlayStation 3, but I just want to play an actual game and make sure that the next-gen consoles really are light years ahead of the PlayStation 2 and the GameCube and even the original Xbox.
Yep, but you know, fortunately, you won't have to wait long to do that because starting tomorrow, we've got 3 hours of live daily E3 coverage.
We'll bring you breaking news, exclusive trailers, interviews, and game demos. What more do you people want?
It's okay, Adam. It's okay. We're good. E3 06 Live will be on G4 Tuesday through Friday at 6 p.m. You gotta tune in, and then you can bask in the rich electronic goodness that is E3, the largest video game event on the planet. 2006 will be the biggest E3 ever, and it's the only place to get a first look at the games that will be rocking your world for months and even years from now. There's just one catch. It's not open to the public. But that's where we come in. This year, G4 will be taking you inside E3 for all the big games, all the next-gen consoles, and all the insanity from the biggest video game event in the world. The future of gaming is here, and we'll get you in. And we leave you now with an exclusive trailer for Sega's Chrome Helms for the Xbox 360. We'll see you tomorrow, everybody, at 6 p.m.
Come on, be there.
Live and inside E306 is G4. Premiering live demos of Spore, Gears of War, Scarface, exclusive interviews with John Carmack, Peter Molyneux, Will Wright, Peter Moore, up-to-the-minute news on the hottest titles like Zelda Twilight Princess, Splinter Cell, Metal Gear Solid 4. Be there as Kevin, Adam, Morgan, and Olivia get their hands on the PS3 and Nintendo's Wii. E306 Live, tomorrow at 6 p.m., presented by Sign and Mountain